Good morning and welcome to the first session of the Cleaning Technology Talks dedicated to robotics, cobotics, and AI in cleaning. While embracing robotics can be a significant undertaking and investment, it's not an all or nothing prospect. Robotic cleaning machines can help forward-thinking companies leverage groundbreaking robotic technology in a fairly accessible way. AI is also changing the way our industry operates. And we are here to discuss all aspects of it: challenges, opportunities, implementations, everything. But before I go any further, let me introduce you to our panel members today. Joining us today is Aswin Sarang. Aswin is one of the region's youngest startup entrepreneur turned investor, heading the robotics firm Reliable Robotics based in Dubai as the head of robotics and AI at Reliable Robotics. Also joining us from Qatar is Eduardo Lopez Sanjuro. Eduardo is an engineer in the Innovation and Technology Department of Acciona Facilities Services. We are also honored to host Mr. Amarnath Kumar, Executive Housekeeper, Sheraton, Mall of the Emirates, and Mr. Anders Morup, Regional Director, Middle East and Africa at Nilfisk, General Manager, UAE. A hearty welcome to all the panelists. Without further ado, let's begin. Just a quick reminder to the audience before we get started. If you have any questions, please type them into the question box on your panel and I'll bring them up during the discussion. So let's begin. Our first question is open to all the panel members. Anybody can take it. How is technology taking the forefront in the Middle East market? Anders, perhaps you can take it first.
Yes, I will be happy to. So there's a lot of interest and a lot of people looking into this aspect, both from an operator, from an owner's perspective, and from manufacturer. So this is for sure where let's say the industry, not only for our industry, but for a lot of different industries are heading. So I would say there's definitely a lot of interest. There's a lot of studies being done. I think we are still, let's say, we are probably not the leading region in the world for this. We still need to really figure out how does this work best with our type of market. But it's definitely something that will be part of the future.
Thank you, Anders. Eduardo, would you like to add your opinion about this?
Yes, welcome everyone, and thanks to inviting me to this conference. Regarding to this question, I would like to present our perspective as we see as a facility service company. Governments and private companies in the region have taken steps to create an environment in which technology can move or can occur. And Middle East is always open to the latest innovations and cutting-edge technology, not only in robots or cobots and other parties, digitalization and AI. And well, we see a really big opportunity for improvement and big market here. And also with the support of innovation companies, we can take to another level in this market, as we see.
Thank you, Eduardo. Ashwin, would you like to add to this? We can't really hear you.
Yes, am I audible?
Yeah, now you're audible.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I would like to add to what Edward has said. We are one of the few countries that has a minister for AI. That itself shows that the government is so progressive towards technology and more accepting towards technology. Now, implemented technology itself would make it more open if those implementations are actually implemented in public services. Now, in UAE, we have robotic cleaning solutions, especially in public services like metro stations, airport and stuff. That makes people like the public more exposed to such kind of solutions. That makes it easy for us system integrators and service providers to implement it. because people will become more accepting towards it. That's my take on it and my observation in terms of such solutions in our country locally.
Thank you for sharing, Ashwin. Now coming to Mr. Amarnath. Mr. Amarnath, you have been in the hospitality industry for a very long time. So tell us, how have you seen technology taking the forefront in the hospitality industry specifically?
See, in my opinion, first of all, thank you very much for organizing such a nice event, and welcome everyone. Technology is taking a great revolution in this region, Middle East and Africa market, especially. In Dubai, as Ashwin has mentioned, that we already have one department in the government section to lead this entire technology things. And we also be very happy that Dubai has initiated this program quite earlier, and RTA, Road Transport Authority, has already started in one of the metro stations in Dubai. And we also be happy to know that Neo robots has been accepted by Dubai market as well as the Israel market in the Middle East and Africa. So I can see that it's a great future and a great revolution for the cleaning technology in this market. Plus, these are the advantages for the cleaners, especially in the housekeeping department, whenever you are working for the bigger region, like the malls, complex, or the hotels. At these places, when the robots or the cobots comes, it makes the work very much easier. That's the great advantage of this cleaning technology things coming up in the market. So these are the benefits, and these are the great revolutions coming up into the Middle East and Africa market. And we all are, especially in Dubai, are always accepting the new things, the new innovations. And very soon you will be seeing that it will be more frequently used in the hotels as well as in the public places.
Certainly, things have changed a lot, and they are going to progress more in the future in terms of technology. So my next question is, tell us about the robotic revolution. How are robots changing cleaning in facilities? Anders, if you could take this question first.
Yeah, and I think it's important to have these kind of debates where we are a mixed group of people who are looking at it from different perspectives. But no doubt that robotics and cobots will be changing. I think today we have not seen a big revolution yet. All of us are kind of learning, but I think also important that this is not a test thing we are doing. There are thousands of these machines now running, and let's say the growth of this segment compared to other machine segment development is definitely at the highest. I think it's also important when we talk about these type of solution is that it gives a lot of good opportunities to document, to prove from an operator side to an owner or to someone that the job has been done. There's a lot of opportunity for delivering the same result every time. And I think there's also a lot of opportunity to offer other services that previously was not possible because the person was either just sitting on a machine, not doing anything for some hours. He can now add value. So I think from let's say the cleaners, maybe people are thinking, okay, then nobody will be there. I don't see that maybe in an Amazon warehouse where you don't have anyone anyway. But I think in a lot of the, let's say, facilities that we talk about, people will still be there and then can do other tasks.
Certainly. Thank you, Anders. Eduardo, would you like to add to this? Tell us about the Qatar market in terms of this.
Yes, well, as you all of you know, cleaning in large commercial space such warehouse, schools, malls, and airports is tedious and maybe never ending. No, it's quite bigger, and also with COVID-19 crisis, it has been a serious risk for the cleaning staff with maintaining hygiene and facilities and public space. So we have dramatically increased the workload for this kind of cleaners. And when disaster strikes, new innovation solutions can quickly gain attraction and acceptance in our industry. using a robot gives you the operating time to do especially cleaning without then get missed if they are spending time pushing a floor cleaning a machine, for example. It empowers the operative to think about what other cleaning tasks, as Anders said, need to be completed. So some examples we have, or we are going to implement and introduce, we have ultraviolet C technology that you are going to talk later. We are introducing in Hamad hospitals, and also solar module cleaning robots in other solar panels, cleaning robots for condoms, autonomous screw. Well, as you know, we have a lot of technology, and that's the way the future, that's the revolution, no?
Thank you so much for sharing, Eduardo. Now, Ashwin, I think you'll have interesting things to say about the robotic revolution, since you come from an entirely robotic background. So tell us about it.
Definitely. As Anders and Eduardo nicely put about the industry and the cleaning industry and stuff. Now, my perspective and my take on this cleaning industry, as in terms of technological transformation, is purely how easy it is for a common man to adopt a robotic system or a robotic cleaning system into his own household. The success rate of that will also be exponentially growing the cleaning industry itself. Now, if you look at cleaning robots, the first cleaning robot that was actually developed and actually started to be commercialized was back in 1996 by an Electrolux. The company, it was a Swedish company called Electrolux. And of course, it wasn't as successful as it is right now. But during the course of time, the second introduction of that same product back into the industry or making it commercial was 2001. In such short span of time, battery technology has evolved, sensorics have evolved, and because of that, they were able to produce such robotic cleaning systems at a very small, very cheaper rate. Now in the market, we could purchase a robotic cleaning system for as cheap as 500 dirhams. You can log on to Amazon, just purchase one quick, and within 5 hours, you have the product already. And most people have started to implement it because it's less noisy compared to other vacuum cleaners and stuff. So people are more, how do I say, when it becomes cheaper, people are a little bit understanding of, okay, I can afford it, I can bring it into my own home, starting to implement it. This makes, again, service providers like us, our make life easier into actually selling these kind of solutions into the market. That's pretty much my observation in terms of the robotic technology in the market, B2C, pretty much. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ashwin. That was really informative. Now coming to Mr. Amarnath. Mr. Amarnath, you are the end user. As a hotelier, would you implement robots in your facility? And if yes, how do you think robots can change cleaning in hotels?
See, whenever the technology comes, either it is a robot or before earlier it was the vacuum machine, right? Let's start from the beginning itself. When the cleaner was using the mop stick and it was a very big space was there in the malls or in the big hotels where you have the big public spaces, it takes a huge time to clean up. Then after this, the technology comes with the vacuum machines, and then the bigger machines with the scrubbing machine and all these things. That makes the human work easier. So as we are the end user for the hotels, for the malls, I will prefer to have the cobotics as well as robotic, where the cobotic is in the collaboration with the human being. So in which areas we need that we have the huge spaces, definitely that's going to help us. And it's going to have the huge demands in the coming future. Whenever we have the need of important, where the mental ability is needed, for example, in the front areas of the guest, where we have to take the decision at that place, of course, the human being should be there, where we can understand the mental well-being of the guest and we can respond to the guest. But for the huge areas, cleaning, I'm sure that robots and the cobots are going to make a vital role in the cleaning industry. This is my thought.
Thank you so much for sharing. We have a question from the audience. Mr. Imran Akram asks, how easy is it to implement a new technology solution in the region, taking into consideration local government approvals? Anders, could you take this question?
Yeah, and I think here we are lucky to be in this part of the world where, as Aswin was saying, we actually have the government moving first. So I actually don't see a lot of challenges in UAE. Maybe if we look to the region, it could be different in some of the other countries. And this is primarily when we're looking for, let's say, connectivity with the machine remotely. Then there can be some things that we need to sort out. But in general, governments and countries are very welcome and are not, I would say, similar challenges that you find for regular machines, not significantly more.
Certainly, I agree. Now, coming towards our next question, what is the equation between automation or robotics and the manual workforce? Is it a threat or a balance can be found between the two? Would anybody like to take this question first?
I'll take that question.
Yeah, sure.
So in that particular question, there's a lot of gray areas that needs to be addressed. Now, first of it being the whole idea of why we automate processes. It's basically to avoid all the mundane tasks and for humans to actually focus on things that actually matter. Like in 2022, we're having a lot of environmental crisis, renewable energy, sustainability. These are the conversations that primarily happen. So if we automate mundane tasks like cleaning, of course, humans can actually focus on solving the actual problems than doing repetitive tasks. But of course, yeah, we live in a society that requires some kind of revenue being generated out of it. But if you look at the overall perspective and the future, the new generations has to start to think in a different aspect. The jobs have changed, job sectors have changed, industries has changed. Now again, coming back to the government aspects of how locally things happen over here. There's a lot of accelerated programs that is happening locally in terms of bringing in investments for implementing technology and actually growing and boosting technology firms. Like we had more technological startups than in the previous years, and investments, grants, and all those things are happening. So overall, the collective consciousness of our local country is that they're more welcoming and more adaptive in terms of any of this cleaning technology, be it any technology or industry. That's my understanding of things at the moment.
Thank you, Ashwin. Amarnath, you deal with a lot of, cleaning staff. Is it a matter of concern to them when you implement robotics or when you try to automate things within your hotel? Is it a matter of concern for them?
See, in the first place, when it is going to start, yes, at first the people may resist because they may think that we will be replaced by these machines. So these thinkings are there. But in my opinion, that in the high cost market where the labor cost is really very high, especially in Middle East region where the company is preparing all the stuffs, including their visas and including their accommodations and all these things. In that term, in the high cost market, and when you are going to deal with the challenges with the main power. So at this moment, I can say that robots are going to play a vital role. In terms of the threat, if the people can understand that it can be threat, but in my opinion, that it should not be a threat. It should be work can be easier through this robots or the cobots. Wherever, like in the market, we have the huge spaces, like in the malls and all, we are having really wide spaces and all. In that one, if we can give the machineries to them to deal with them, right, at that point of time, they will be feeling very good. After being resisted also, they will be feeling very good that these are the helpful devices for them, which are going to help them for a long run in terms of the physical activities and all. So if we will be able to make them understand well that how are they going to be used for their less physical works, then I can say that there should not be any resistance from them. And whenever the guest front areas are there, when the associate is going to make the decision, at that time, their jobs are safe. It doesn't mean that their job will be unsecured. So we need to make sure that how are we making them understand about this, and that will make a big impact, I can say.
I would like to add something to that
Sure.
about adoption. Now, it's ironical and funny at the same way. COVID has been one of the biggest digital transformation, reason, like in the current world, because people are more open to interacting with the robot to maintain certain social distance than a human being. So cleaning and all the services to provided by robot, people are more open to it and more accepting of it now. So that's something that I've noticed, and it's a wonderful thing. It just accelerated the process overall. So that's my addition to that. Yeah.
I completely agree. I think the pandemic, although it has been horrible, but this is just one of the good things that it brought about. It like completely transformed the cleaning industry, and especially in terms of technology, people are now more open to adopting technologies than ever before, and robotics is just one of them. Anders, would you like to take this question? Like, is the process of automation or introduction of robotics a threat to the manual workforce, or can we find a balance between the two?
No, I don't see it. It will probably change some tasks. It will require that we can do other things. And I think actually the most boring part of the cleaning will be taken away, and the where you add value will remain. And this is where we need people to think. This is where we need them to look at a surface and decide how to handle it. The machine is super good at cleaning and also not over cleaning, right? So the machine knows exactly where it is, so it will not be overlapping. We will be saving water, we will save energy, but for certain tasks you need a human person. So I see that there will be more interesting tasks. There will also be opportunities to add tasks that currently we're not able to do. And then I think also with COVID and other things that there's still an increased need for monitoring, for documentation, to show that this has been done. And this also is where humans will come in. So I don't see that suddenly it will just be an army of machine and no people there. I think it will be evolution. And I think as we talked about when the vacuum cleaner was introduced, this is just the next step, and that will continue happening.
Thank you, Anders. Eduardo, would you like to add to this?
Yes, totally agree with my colleagues. Also, from our part, with cleaning routines now being taken by machines, by robotics, cleaning staff, as Anders said, have more time to focus on higher priority tasks, which requires human intervention. So, such sanitizing in high contact surface and other sensitive areas. So a lot of our cleaners not only priority in these higher tasks, also have been trained in how to do the maintenance and handyman work on site as well. So we are upscaling them, and not just in maintenance, also in managing the robots. So they are gaining a skill for the future. That's the way I see.
Thank you, Eduardo. We have another question from the audience. This one is from Mr. Sumesh Nair. He asks, he has seen some robotic machine cleaning the public washrooms. It seems interesting, but at the same time, is it effective? Who would like to take this question first?
I think good point about the effectiveness. I cannot comment on that specific, at least that's not something our company is doing, but I think it's important to remember that, let's say, a robot by itself don't do cleaning. You need to make sure that the robot can also clean. And I think here we also need further development on the battery technology, which is happening, because to have a robot moving around, if the floor is not being cleaned, then it can maybe work for let's say marketing or other reasons. But I think it's also important that we look at the cleaning result, not only at, let's say, the technology. And I think here a lot of what Aswin was also talking about, the other industries around us with batteries and chargers and sensors are going to make this much more available. But on the specific machine in the washroom, I don't have any experience.
I'll add a little bit onto that. Like Anders has said, at the moment, I would say it will not be fully efficient, because robotics in terms of its research and development, we are not able to replicate like an electronic skin, just like how the human hand degree of freedoms are there. Those things are not easily replicated at this point. It's primarily on research and development basis, and a lot of studies need to be done as well. But like I said, it has to start somewhere. So the matter of adoption has to begin right now. Say 10 to 20 years later, we have very efficient advanced cleaning solutions that does not require any kind of human intervention as such. So it's a matter of starting somewhere. So it's a matter of immediate adoption to get there quicker. That's my take on that.
Thank you, Ashwin. Would anybody else like to add to that? Eduardo, Mr. Amarnath?
Not for my part. I didn't see this robot yet, but all can happen, no? It is possible, yeah.
All right, thank you.
So maybe I can add that I
sure.
see some companies having a little bit of a reluctance towards robots, and also thinking, let me wait another year, another 6 months, then it will be perfect. And I think really it's important to try to let's say incorporate this in your company, in your thinking. You cannot just let's say it's not going to be just a different color of what we do today. It is very different, and it gives a lot of opportunities. And I think it's important that companies like our own more than 100-year-old company are getting involved in this. And you could say, okay, is this gonna make our budget next year? Probably not. But if we don't start, then someone else will do it, and we don't get the learning. So I think all of the, let's say, the people in the industry, I think it's important to get started and also see failure. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, this worked. So sitting on the sideline, not being involved, I think that's maybe not the right tactic.
Thank you, Anders. Mr. Sumesh, I would also suggest that you stay tuned for our upcoming presentation, The Future of Smart Washrooms, wherein we will take this question in a bit more detail. For now, we have another question from the audience. This one is for Ashwin. The question is from Raquel Veloso. Raquel asks, I would like to ask on the maintenance and lifespan of a cleaning robot.
At the moment, let's just say if we take B2C, for example, like home-based cleaning robots, a vacuum cleaner, for example. Now, 2 to 3 years before, like most of the robots, like say, just to give a case scenario, robotic vacuum cleaners needs to move around. It can be, the surface can be mapped and the robot will automatically move around, collect the dust, and every few weeks, we have to remove the dust from it. It has to be disposed. Right now, we have dust collection areas where the robot will automatically go dock, dispose the dust, and go back to go back to work. So the removing and disposal of dust has become like, say, it can be done once in 3 months or so. So that again shows exponential development or in terms of cleaning robotic systems. Now this is on a B2C factor, say home robotic systems. Now service robotics industry has struggled throughout the years in terms of making solutions cheaper, because it's much expensive to implement something initially, but if you look at the long term, the return on investment is much higher compared to having manual labor. So it's a balance that needs to still happen. But with the next industrial revolution, the fifth one, it will probably happen as well, and it'll happen sooner and quickest. Yeah, that's my understanding.
Thank you, Ashwin. We have another question from the audience. This question is from Prince De Silva. Prince asks, cleaning at a certain level is okay, but how about refilling consumables? Will a robot be able to do it? Who would like to take this question? Any of the panel members?
I'll take the same one again.
Sure.
And of course, we have restocking robots primarily used in warehousing systems. So those kind of robots are primarily being implemented. And even in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, certain warehouses also start to implement those systems. And as of now, it has 60 to 70% efficiency, but we are still, by implementing a little bit of machine learning and AI, by collecting enough data from a set of pre-test, of course, we can reach better accuracy and better efficiency. So that's that.
Maybe I can add to that.
Sure.
So I think here it's also important, again, that we don't have the perfect solution for tomorrow, but we are developing, as Aswin is saying, okay, we put the machine in. And the great thing about these machines is that once we learn it, we can also update it like your mobile phone. So software updates, I can see that with our machines. Every time I see a demo, we have a software update. Oh, now the hardware is the same, but we are learning. We can go a little bit closer. We have learned, okay, in this, let's say, because now we have tried it so many times, or the machine have tried, this is a better way to avoid an obstacle. And you now also have machines that can avoid each other, right? So when we put a machine into let's say a warehouse environment, the forklift and the cleaning machine can figure out to avoid each other. On the automatic filling, at least from our perspective, this is one of the, let's say, not the key things for us to be successful now, is that we are focusing more on getting a good machine that can do, let's say, the job, that can do the cleaning, can be easy to operate, that you don't need a, let's say, PhD in IT or something, that actually a normal cleaner with a bit of extra training can operate. And then still required, and this is where we also say cobots, is still require a cooperation with the person to fill water, fill detergent, to change the brush, to clean the squeegee, and these kind of things, because there's a lot of tasks. So if we only just filled water, then the other things would also still be needing to have a human interaction. But I think this is also where the human can add a lot of value. And in future, the machine will do everything. But I think today it's not, let's say, plug and play, and then you never look at the machine again.
Thank you, Anders. Now, my next question, I think we've already touched upon this point before, but we'd like to get into a little more detail. It's about the resistance to change from the cleaning staff, from the ground cleaning staff. So, while we are implementing robots, does the cleaning workforce resist the transition to robotics and AI? And how is this challenge addressed? Mr. Amarnath, if you can take this question first, please, for us.
Yes, as I said in the beginning, that whenever the new things comes, the people try to resist. And when the robots or the cobots will be coming up, for sure the people will be resisting, saying that their job will be. But it depends how are we educating the team. That makes a very big difference. So if we educate the team into this way, that these cobots are helpful for all of you to make the task easier, because to clean the entire surfaces, maybe it will take around 2 hours or 3 hours time. But during that time, he can save his like 1.5 hour time or 2 hours time to clean that space, and he can do the another important work, which can make their work easier, which can make their life easier. And in this way, the productivity can be increased. So to increase the productivity, we must ensure that how are we educating the team, that if you are going to use these cobots, definitely it's going to improve your productivity. Plus, in the future run, you can also develop yourself into the next level. So it depends on how are we educating them. That's very much important. The second thing is, of course, the cost wise also, it will be coming up for the management. For example, if we are going to reach out to the general managers and all, that this will be the cost effective or this is not the cost effective. So that convincing things should be also applied. So in terms of this, the robots or cobots, the dealers who are there, they can also ensure that how are they going to save their time. And as we know that time is money, so in this way we can save the money as well in terms of the cost effectiveness. So it depends on both of us, the leaders like us, and also the dealers who are going to deal these robots and cobots. How are they going to convince the management team as well? That also makes a big difference in accepting this new change.
Thank you, Mr. Amarnath. Would anybody else like to add to that? Okay, then let's proceed to the next question. What is the impact of automation and robotics in the cleaning and hygiene market? Mr. Anders, if you could begin speaking on that first.
I think this kind of, we touched it a little bit before. I think it's bringing new innovations, new solutions. It's also bringing opportunities to do new tasks that we were not doing before. And I think it also brings a lot of data that we certainly better can understand because the machines provide data, and we get a lot of learnings from these machines. And it gives opportunities suddenly to look a little bit maybe outside the cleaning space. Maybe we can also help maybe security. There can be many other things that there are, let's say, opportunities opening when we put new technology into our industry. And I think maybe also just this on the cleaners adoption, then at least I have seen every time we have done a demo and we presented, the cleaners are some of the most interesting. They find, oh, this looks a lot more interesting for me than just to sit or push or do something on a scrubber. So I think at least my impression is that there is a positive attitude towards it.
Thank you, Anders. Eduardo, would you like to add to this?
Yes, totally agree with you, Ander. And also, robotic cleaning machines can create a competitive advantage through productivity improvements and opening new marketing and public relations also by branding. And I read it that there are currently more than 54,000 of companies competing for a global service in cleaning. And well, it's a lot of high scope, and it is estimated that companies in cleaning are losing like 55% of the customer base each year due to a poor service. So it creates advantage if you use automation and robotics. And also, cleaning robots are ideal for many types of industries and environments, as we say before. So that's my opinion in the impact.
Thank you so much for sharing, Eduardo. Ashwin, would you like to add to this?
Yeah, sure, definitely. Like Anders and Eduardo and Amarnath has previously explained about the implementation aspects of it. Like certain level of awareness, basically the fear behind adoption of technology is primarily lack of awareness. Now, if you look at any previous industrial revolution, there always has been like before that. Let me address this. Like all these technologies, there is a reason why they're all called disruptive technology. They disrupt the way we live our lives, not like manual labor or loss of jobs and things like that. It impacts our life and changes the way we look at things and we live our lives. So in that aspect, like a lot of fear in terms of implementation and acceptance would be changed by creating awareness, like educational programs and stuff like that. But at the same time, doing that is turning the normal laborers into skilled laborers, making them go from unskilled to skilled. Because even to implement collaborative robots, there a certain level of skills are still required in terms of programming. We do have program in robotic systems where instead of programming, you can manually move it around, map the area, then replay that back. So it makes the whole process easier. So awareness, education, a lot of educational programs and training is very necessary in terms of adoption, not just improving technology itself. People also needs to be improving their skill set to adopt these things and basically accelerate the process. That's my understanding of it.
Thank you, Ashwin. Mr. Amarnath, would you like to add to this?
See, for the automation things, whenever it's going to be implemented into the market, especially in the hospitality market, is going to benefit into the two areas. First of all, the cost effectiveness. And as one of our colleagues has told that once a new technology comes to the hotel industry, the first person is most happy, that's the cleaner, because they know that our new machine has come and this is going to save their time, this is going to save their energy. So if we will be going towards the positive impact of this new generation of the technology, I can say that it will be cost effective, it will be the energy effective, it will be creating the happiness among the team as well, that they got the nice machine, which was earlier, which was taking a lot of time to clean the areas, but now this is going to help them out to clean up in a very fast manner. The second very much important thing is the accidents. Whenever you are having the physical work by the person, there are the lots of chances to get accident. And sometimes because of that, we cost a lot. And but if you have the robots or cobots, there's the chances of very less accidents, and that will also save a lot of money to the hotel industry and the hospitality market, I can say. So for the long run, if people will think into the positive side, I can say that going to have the great impact into the cleaning and hygiene industry.
Thank you, Mr. Amarnath. We have another question from Mr. Sumesh Nair from the audience. Sumesh asks, how can robots give a personal touch to the customer in hospitality industry cleaning section? How do robots work on making experience for guests in hospitality sector? Mr. Amarnath, I think you're the best person to take this question.
Yes, as I answered earlier as well, that whenever the human touch is required, whenever you are talking to the guest, right, at that time, of course, the human touch are most important requirement. I will tell you in Marriott International now, very recently, we have started with the process that no person will be at the check-in desk. Like the guest can come directly and they can do the mobile check-in. They have the mobile key. They can go to the room and they can check in into the hotel room, right? So, and that's called, our brand call is the Moxie brand in the Marriott International. So the same thing can be applied, but however, whenever you are dealing with the people, so in dealing with the people, of course, we need the human touch. Because you are judging the people to each other, and at that time, the judgment is required. Uh, but however, apart from this, apart from the decision making, because it's the decision has been already, like, the things have been already fed into the robots. In those areas, the robots cannot work out. But in the bigger space, when you are saving your time, during that time, you can utilize those mental things to deal with the customers.
Thank you, Mr. Amarnath. Would anybody else like to add to this question? Okay, then let's proceed to our next one. Talking about artificial intelligence now. Consider an organization, which hasn't really touched upon artificial intelligence ever. How do they implement it? How do they go about implementing it? Ashwin, could you take this question first?
Sure, definitely. So it depends from industry to industry. Now, in terms of, now here we are talking about cleaning industry. When you say artificial intelligence, primarily machine learning, which would primarily require a lot of data collection. That means multiple data collection points needs to be there in the form of, be it robots or any kind of service solutions, hardware. It can be anything. So the more data that we collect, the more that we could learn from it, the more machine learning structures or solutions and nodes can be implemented. So based on that, like in terms of how do I say, we're predicting a solution or predicting the efficiency of how we could provide a service is purely based on how we collect data. So that's my understanding of AI. But in terms of implementation, once the study is done, once the test is done, of course, we load it back to the robotic system to clean the surfaces, in this case, much more efficiently. Now, let's just say for a robot to clean a particular surface, say the 1,200 square feet area. Now, there are many ways of doing it. There's the robot would compute a million ways of actually doing that process in a different way. Sometimes you would want to calculate the most efficient way. So for that, the robot needs to understand the area. It needs to do multiple trial and errors to know, okay, what is the most efficient way of doing something. In the end, once all this data is collected, is when the robot makes enough decision to know, okay, this is the most efficient way of doing it by saving enough battery, by saving enough solution. For example, a cleaning surface, cleaning certain solutions, chemical needs to be used. Using little amount of chemical at the same time, cleaning the surface efficiently. This is, in this scenario, this is one of the use cases that how we could, take advantage of AI or machine learning.
Thank you, Ashwin. We have an interesting question from the audience. This question is from Jeans Joseph. Jeans asks, how can robotic machines help full healthcare facilities to do contactless disinfection and cleaning? So
That's a That's a very, very interesting question. I was waiting to somebody to ask that because cleaning has very important, too much importance in biomedical industry, especially maintaining hygiene in the surface. So here in this aspect, I would like to bring you to notice something that is very new, which is not robots actually. It is actually self-cleaning surfaces. Self-cleaning surfaces primarily means that ability of a surface to clean itself. It's primarily inspired from nature actually. For example, the ability of a lotus plant to actually be hydrophobic in terms of attracting water. So those can implement those kind of surfaces in case of especially used in tools that is used for surgery and stuff, might have a better efficiency rate than implementing a robot, because one, you can reduce the cost, two, it's much more efficient because you're removing the process of cleaning itself because it's a self-cleaning surface. So having self-cleaning surface has massive potential and impact in biomedical industry. So it's a very great question, so thank you for asking it.
Thank you so much. Would anybody else like to add to this healthcare facility question? Now, this is really interesting because healthcare facilities would look to robots. Anders, would you like to add to this?
Yes, so we during or in the beginning of the COVID breakout, we found a solution how to add a UVC disinfectant module to our robots, meaning that not only, let's say, the cleaning and the drying of the floor, but we would also then disinfect the floor surface. So not the other surfaces, but the floor surface where the machine is passing. We would disinfect with the UVC light, which is very efficient, but of course also needs to be handled with care. And I know there are other companies that are specifically focused on the disinfection with robots of patient rooms. So, and again, using UVC light, but in a different manner, where the robot is doing that, let's say, that task without people in the room. So innovation is coming. Maybe we don't do 100% today with the robots, but that's for sure gonna come. And we have learned that, right? We also learned that when we are in this kind of situation, we want the hands to do again what adds value. But of course, in a health facility, you need to make sure that you have clean surfaces. So I think a lot of innovation will come in this space. And there's a lack of, at least in many countries, there's a lack of a human resource in these areas.
Certainly. Thank you, Anders. Now, there is this preconceived notion that, implementing AI and robotics can be expensive for an organization. So what would you like to say about it? What are the costs and benefits associated with implementing these technologies for a facility, maybe like a hotel or a healthcare facility or an airport or a shopping mall? Ashwin, would you like to take this question first?
Yeah, sure, definitely. I would like to debunk the question, but unfortunately that's not possible because the answer for that is actually in terms of 90%, it's not fully possible to create a solution that is, how do I say, fully efficient. And the reason for that is because of course, is adoption of technology in 2022 is at a much higher expensive rate because one, human resource having expertise into the field to develop solutions like that. Now, even to create AI solutions, if an hardware is involved, definitely hardware cost is coming into the picture. Most of the time, softwares, especially in AI-based softwares, like of course you could purchase it on an evaluation basis, put it for test, say 6 months or 7 months period, because most of the here, even in government sectors, most of the cleaning technologies are put on pilot programs to see initially, to test it out, because at the end of the day, hardware doesn't get much damage because maintenance is possible. So of course you can test it and see if it's more efficient, and if it's efficient, then implement it. So most of it would be implementing pilot programs or test-based programs would cut the cost down, but at the same time, any kind of technology right now, implementation cost is much, much higher. But most of the people's, how do I say, focus should be taken away from the immediate implementation and look on the long-term basis. On the long-term basis, is much more cheaper, much more efficient, much more faster. So we like to direct that focus on that direction, then we would get a positive answer out of it. That's my take on it.
Thank you, Ashwin. Eduardo, would you like to add to this?
Yes, well, the biggest challenges of implementing robots and AI I think, as been said before, is about educating the market on this kind of technology. It means that the best option is not always the cheaper, but it is the highest quality robot delivering by the far best price performance. The challenge is to demonstrate it that the robot return of investment to potential customers. So I think that's part of the key.
So much. Mr. Amarnath, would you like to address this question? What is your opinion about this?
Right now, no, nothing from my side.
All right, thank you. Mr. Anders, how cost effective are robots and AI?
I think for sure cost effective, but if you are comparing to what you had yesterday and just want to swap that with a robotic machine, and you do, let's say, the only look at the initial let's say capital investment, then no, then it is higher, requires a higher investment, but the efficiencies, the saving you can do on the consumables, the other services that you can add, that will definitely show that there is a good return of investment, but it's a more complicated task. It's not, let's say, just taking one thing out of an Excel sheet and putting this in, then it will not work. And I think it's also, let's say, it will come to a point where the owners of the properties will be requiring this. So that will also have a leverage between the different service providers, that if they cannot provide a solution like this, there are certain contracts that they cannot enter into. But it is, let's say, as Aswin said, it's over a period of time where it makes sense, not after one day. But I would say that the implementation is not always a big task. It also is important to select the right machine for the right task, and also not expect that you are putting, let's say, magic, or it is still a, let's say, a cleaning solution that we are providing. But if the provider of the equipment, the service provider, and the owner is involved, then it's for sure it's going to be successful. But I think only one of these three, let's say, main stakeholders cannot do it.
Certainly. Thank you so much, Mr. Anders. It looks like we've covered most of our questions. Thank you so much, Ashwin, Amarnath, Anders, and Eduardo for joining us today. Thank you to all our listeners. We'll join you in a few minutes for a detailed discussion about the UVC technology with Mr. Conrad Kullman, Director for UVC Africa. Stay tuned for it. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.